Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. For a minute there, I thought you didn't recognize me. And for the two of you that don't know who I am, nor have you seen Avatar, I'm Willie Brown, former Speaker of the California State Assembly. When I read that Jack O'Connell was about to do his final in the capacity as superintendent of schools for this state, his final state of the school and education system in this state, I immediately called up and said, Jack, I need to be there and I'm coming. And he said, if you're coming, I'm putting you to work. That has been the relationship that I've had with Jack O'Connell since first meeting him in 1982, when he decided to leave the teaching business and become a member of the California State Assembly in a district most, if not maybe the most politically diverse district in the state, because you could not guarantee that a Democrat would be elected. You couldn't guarantee that a Republican would be elected. As a matter of fact, some people said you couldn't guarantee that a human being would be elected. Jack O'Connell was just absolutely magnificent. He was a young man that those of us who served in the legislature almost immediately to a person admired. He was knowledgeable, focused, open to dialogue, unusually principled on every single solitary issue, and always working to build a consensus, not in just the interests of the people in his district, not just in the interests of Democrats, but in the interests of the people of the state of California. An unusual trait for a successful politician in the electoral process, but a necessary trait for a politician who intends to have a long, respected, and storied career, as has been the case with Jack O'Connell. So it should not have surprised anybody that his colleagues elevated him from his lofty position that he occupied on the Ways and Means Committee, where he literally steered for virtually all of the terms and the times that I served as Speaker. Jack O'Connell directed the policy options and the policy initiatives for the state of California in the world of education, and had a profound influence on every aspect of what we did with reference to the environment as chair of the subcommittee of Ways and Means that handled those matters. His colleagues next tapped him to be kind of the Abraham Lincoln of the legislature. That is to say, you are the person who presides over the House. People trust you enough to allow you to make the rulings, and you make those rulings, and you do so in a very, very upfront, democratic way. Jack O'Connell earned his colleagues' internal gratitude for the way in which he conducted the operation, and my guess is that those literally CDCs that have been made of his performance, they will be available for students for years to come on how he presided and conducted the legislature. And then, of course, the voters of this state, in a most unusual manner, stepped forward and gave Jack O'Connell the mandate: run the school system in the school districts of this state. He is the only statewide politician that enjoyed virtually every newspaper editorial endorsement in pursuit of that office and in pursuit of being reelected to that office. Without term limits, there's no question in my mind that Jack O'Connell would be eternally the superintendent of schools for the state of California, and believe me, the state would be much better off. So it is my great pleasure on behalf of all of the colleagues with whom Jack served from 1982 to 2010. We wanted very much to have them here. They could not be. I'm representing all of them, just as I did at the outset of his career. We're here for what some people say is the end of his political career. I say it's a pause, because I don't know any other person that has all the qualities that it takes, the wherewithal, the desire, the integrity, and the reputation, and the full set of brains that elected officials need to have to do their job than Jack O'Connell. Ladies and gentlemen, the Superintendent of Schools for the state of California, my friend, Jack O'Connell.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, guys. You made it. You're good. Thank you very much. That's very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. There you go. Boy, thank you so very, very much. I should have brought my top hat that Abe Lincoln always wore after that nice intro. But I don't know about another 4 years. I thought we were friends. What do you have against me for now? I want to thank the Kennedy High School Choir. They just did a great job. Please, again, super job. Yeah, and then, of course, when I'm back here, I realize today I'm violating one of my own rules. You never follow Willie Brown to the rostrum. I'm thinking, what am I thinking? When I did ask him if he'd work, I was really pleased that he's here. In fact, the Speaker changed his plans. He said I might have to take a boat to get from the city of San Francisco to here today, but it's true. When I asked him if he'd come over and work for a few minutes, unhesitatingly said, I'll certainly be there. He's not only a personal friend of mine, but absolutely a great friend of public education. I'll always remember the one caucus that we had 20 years ago, the Democrats, and we always spoke with a unified voice. There was never any dissension. And there was some discussion on the level of funding for education. And Proposition 98, the minimum education guarantee, had just passed. And Speaker Brown stood up and he said, look, you guys, I don't care if you don't understand Prop 98, just defend it, and defend it forever. And that's the kind of leadership that we really, really need to have. And then one of my highlights in this term of office is when the Speaker's office called me, and they said, there's going to be a dedication of a school in San Francisco, and you've been requested to be the MC. And I can't remember the name of the elementary school. Oh, the Willie Brown Elementary School in San Francisco. And I was so honored. Now, those of you that know the Speaker will not be surprised. Every student there impeccably dressed. It was incredible. And every single boy wearing a fedora, the little hat. It was really, but this is a gentleman that served in the legislature almost 40 years, tremendous distinction, with or without term limits, a record of longevity, almost 15 years, that will never be broken. And everyone knows former mayor of San Francisco, longest serving speaker in the state of California. I want to tell you, the best speaker in the history of the state of California, Willie Lewis Brown Jr. Willie, will you please stand up? Yeah? Stand up, Will. Stand up. Thank you, man. Thank you. Well, the Cal Channel folks just told me we're almost to our end of the tape that are here. I sincerely want to thank all of you for coming. Difficult weather circumstances, and I'm so pleased to see so many of my close friends and associates that have really come to be here, both near and far, today. So sincerely, thank you on behalf of both Dory and myself. Each year, I really do look forward to this event. It gives me an opportunity to have a chance to speak directly to the education community, to policymakers, many of whom are here, and the citizens of California about the status of public education in our great state. It's more important now that we know how our students are actually faring. We need to know where we stand as educators and as a state. Now, to begin with, I do want to express my most sincere appreciation to the entire educational community, to the parents around the state for helping us prepare their children for their successful future. It is for your work that today I stand here both grateful and hopeful. Grateful because we have made so much progress during these very challenging and difficult times. And hopeful because I know that we can build upon this progress even as our challenges continue to grow. So let me talk about the progress for just a brief moment. The progress is due to the collective determination of our students and parents, our teachers and our paraeducators, our administrators, our school board members, and the staff at the California Department of Education, and so many more who contribute on a regular daily basis. In each of the last 7 years since our statewide tests have been completely aligned to our standards, California public school students have made real significant progress and gains in student achievement. I'm so pleased to be able to tell you today that today half of our students are proficient in English language arts. And think about this. It was just 7 years ago. 7 years ago, only 35% of our students met this high bar, and today we're 50%. And in mathematics, it's a similar story. 46% of California students today are at proficient or above. That's 11 points above where we were just 7 short years ago. It's another very impressive. But we all know that we still do have a long way to go. But consider that this means since the year 2003, 655,826 additional California public school students have reached proficient or above in advanced levels in English language arts. And in math, it's a similar story. More than 500,000 additional students have been able to attain the same high levels of achievement. My friends, these are not just numbers that are improving. These are lives that are improving. California students are also making steady gains in the area of science and history, social science. And we've seen a slight increase in our graduation rate, a slight decrease in our dropout rate. And yes, we are incrementally closing achievement gaps. Now, these really are results that can be celebrated, but they take on particular significance right now, at a time when our schools have really lost tens of billions of dollars in much-needed funding. Even these painful cuts did not derail the hard work of our teachers, our administrators, our school support staff, our students, and our parents. In fact, millions of students are better off because of your incredible efforts. I'd like to take just a moment myself to lead the applause for all of the educators working so hard every single day. Thank you for all the educators in California. Thank you. Now, during the last 7 years, I've spent a good part of my time arguing with the United States Department of Education, many members of Congress, and quite frankly, anyone that would listen to me, that this progress is not, I believe, being adequately measured or honored by the federal static bar accountability system, what we call our adequate yearly progress. I am so pleased that President Obama and his Secretary of Education and a friend of mine, Arne Duncan, get this. They understand. And it's so encouraging to see the development of true growth models that can be used for our federal accountability purposes. I'm also proud that during these past 7 years, we have successfully been able to defend our high standards from those who have sought to weaken them. And we fought all the way to the California State Supreme Court to preserve an important aspect of our accountability system, the capstone of our accountability system, the California High School Exit Exam. And I honor all of the students who have worked hard to master the critical skills necessary in both math and English language arts that are measured by the California High School Exit Exam. But I want to pay special tribute today to those who persisted and persevered after their traditional senior year and continued to keep studying, keep learning the skills necessary until they could take and meet the high school exit exam requirement. Let me tell you about just one student who didn't give up on herself or on her future. Marianne Helica Nunez attended Hiram Johnson High School right here in Sacramento. She struggled with math, and she couldn't pass that portion of the California High School Exit Exam to be able to graduate and walk across the stage with her class. But she kept at it. She got extra help from the district. She truly persevered, and she continued to take the test. I was lucky enough to attend the graduation ceremony just this last fall when Ms. Nunez got her diploma, and boy, did it mean a lot to her. She became the second person in her family to graduate from high school. She is now, in fact today, attending Casunas River College and is pursuing her dream as a photography major. I'm so proud of Ms. Nunez and all of the other students that persevered, that really knew that they had to work hard to get these critical skills that will help be successful in college and in life. We'd asked Ms. Nunez to come here today. She was going to come until she called this morning and said she just realized she had to take a test today she wasn't going to miss. You couldn't make this stuff up. So how about a round of applause for Ms. Nunez and all those students persevered. Now, another significant high school reform that really is making a difference every single day in our schools is our focus on career technical education and our world-class standards. I'm also personally proud of the fact that due to a very concerted effort, we have been able to dramatically increase the number of career technical education courses that are eligible to meet both the University of California and the California State University system's A through G requirements. Now, when I started this job 7 years ago, we had just 289 CTE courses that were A through G eligible, accepted by our colleges. I might remember that number, 289. Today, I'm pleased to announce that 7,650 career technical education courses are accepted by UC and CSU. Our students are now being prepared for college and careers by a new approach that's very exciting for our high schools that really does link together our strong academic focus with real-world, work-based learning in a wide range of fields. Linked learning is a very promising new high school improvement approach that is helping give many more of our students real options after their graduation from high school. Now, to further expand options for students who want to be able to have a chance to pursue higher education, we have been helping most of our 11th grade students to get a head start on college and university careers through California's nationally recognized Early Assessment Program, or what we call EAP. This has been a very successful partnership between the California Department of Education and the California State University system. The Early Assessment Program augments our STAR testing program, and the results let students know about the additional work that they need in both math and English language arts in order to succeed, and they can take these classes while they're in 12th grade. I want to personally commend California State University President Charlie Reed for his vision and partnership in this effort. And I am so pleased that under the great leadership of Chancellor Jack Scott, who's here with us today, the California Community Colleges are also piloting the Early Assessment Program. And the University of California is also studying ways in which they can now incorporate the EAP. In addition, over the last few years, we have made major improvements to the quality of our school nutrition and expanded access to healthy meals on our school campuses. We have built and modernized hundreds and hundreds of schools throughout the state. And as all of you know, during the last 4 years, we have spotlighted the achievement gap as a wrong that really needs to be righted in our public schools. And we have set out to work to fix it. Now, just a few minutes ago, I was giving us all that collective pat on the back for our great student progress on test scores. And while all of that credit is certainly very deserving, we still must acknowledge what we see through every lens that we have to measure student achievement, be it our STAR test results, graduation results, the dropout rate, and yes, even the passage rates of the California high school exit exam. And that is that the achievement gap has left far too many of our students of color, too many poor students, and our English language learners, and students with disabilities. They continue to lag behind their peers. We must continue to work toward the critically important end goal of raising achievement for all of our students and closing that achievement gap during both good times and bad. My hardworking statewide P16 council, and many of them are here today, and the California Department of Education remain focused on finding and supporting ways that the state can continue to assist in closing the achievement gap. The P16 Council gave me a very detailed and specific report with 14 recommendations around closing that achievement gap. And I'm pleased to share that these recommendations did not get put on the shelf and become a dust pile like so many reports that are full of good ideas and best of intentions. We have implemented or remain actively engaged in fulfilling each of the 14 recommendations to close the achievement gap. We know our work is far, far from over, but all students can achieve to high levels, and we will not rest until we are preparing all of our students for success in this hyper-competitive global economy. Now, I've just talked about some of the things that we have done and some of the things that we're doing. Yet, all of this amazing work has really been accomplished under a dark cloud of a state budget disaster that has really left our schools reeling. In just the last 2 budget years, $18 billion has been cut from our schools. The governor's current budget proposal would cut K-12 public education funding by another $2.4 billion, including cuts in our class size reduction program, which I authored over a decade ago. We have already seen class sizes increase dramatically across the state. School transportation and summer school programs have been canceled, and critical music, art, career technical education opportunities, and sports programs have already been scaled back and in some cases totally eliminated. Thankfully, the $2.9 billion in federal economic stimulus funds from the Obama administration really did throw a lifeline to our schools this past year. The funds have helped us to avert even deeper cuts in our services and in our personnel, make needed repairs to our school facilities, and advance high-quality preschool to help both our students and our families. Now, of course, as we've been reminded frequently from Washington, D.C., this is one-time federal funding. And if we do not find a way in California to appropriately invest in public education, we really risk having to force more schools to further reduce instructional time, pack more kids into our already overcrowded classrooms, perhaps permanently close libraries, lay off school nurses, and eliminate school transportation or sports programs, or force our school board members to make other similar draconian choices. Throughout my 2 terms as a state superintendent and 20 years in the California State Legislature, I have fought for adequate funding for our schools. I have stood beside California's educational community to protest as a disproportionate share of state budget cuts have fallen on our public school system. And as I look out at the faces that are in this room here today, I see more than a few people who have raised their voices with me in protest of funding cuts and more funding cuts that adversely impact our children. I also see the faces of those who have joined me in demanding that the governor and the legislature approve a constitutional amendment that would return more local controls to our local communities that want to improve the destiny of their schools and their children. I, again, want to call upon the governor and the legislature to approve Senate Constitutional Amendment number 6 by Senator Joe Simitian so Californians can pass a parcel tax with a 55% vote of the people. We have reached a time where the question must be put to all of California's citizens. What is the future that we envision for ourselves? Comprehensive research studies evaluating our education system have all come to the exact same conclusion, a conclusion that really is very simple and very straightforward. We need to invest in an education for every student that prepares them for success in the 21st century global economy. Now, I wish that I could guarantee all of you right here today and right now that there will be better fiscal times ahead for us, that our funding will not be cut again this year. Regrettably, I cannot do that. And yet, certainly as educators and as stewards of our children's future, we cannot afford to sit back and simply wait for these other conditions to improve. So, yes, we face challenges, and we have serious problems to solve. At the same time, there are, in fact, opportunities before us. Theologian Robert South once said, "Problems can become opportunities when the right people come together." The federal Race to the Top competition offers just such an opportunity. I was very proud to sign California's Race to the Top application 1 week ago today at Martin Luther King Elementary School in Compton, California. But to me, the Race to the Top is much more than just an application or a piece of legislation or a competition. It's a historic opportunity to make systemic changes that could fundamentally improve our educational delivery system. If we win a Race to the Top grant, we will use the one-time dollars to tackle some of the most challenging issues that have stymied reforms in the past. Our success will rely on creating a new relationship between the state of California and local educational communities, a relationship that allows educators to focus on the core business of schools, student learning. The state's role must further evolve from regulating inputs and monitoring processes to instead setting and maintaining world-class standards, providing assistance, leveraging our best practices, and monitoring results in a way that fosters continuous improvement at all levels. The local role will need to be one of leadership and innovation. I am so excited that so many local school districts and charter schools have already agreed to partner with us in this race to the top. They have committed to work in unprecedented collaboration with the state and with each other. Their development of new approaches will put our state in the national vanguard. The state will strengthen the local reform efforts by investing in a much more comprehensive education data system, which will allow us to learn from our collective experiences. And the state will further support the effective use of data to focus all efforts on the needs of all of our students. This work will be supported by researchers, by county offices of education, and other support providers who are also committed to help us collaborate. They will help identify what works, share their expertise, and rapidly implement proven strategies. Our goal is to foster professional learning communities of teachers and leaders who have these common goals, who will work together to innovate, to examine the data, and share these effective best practices. These communities will be assisted by online tools and resources that are vetted and reviewed, such as our Brokers of Expertise portal, which will be available to all interested teachers by the fall of this year. Now, let me give you one great example of using data to help us improve instruction. About 16 years ago, the Long Beach Unified School District began a teacher-driven project aimed at collecting assessment data in order to better understand ways to keep students in school. Now, in order to do this most effectively, the district created a data collection system. And as teachers began to find this data more and more useful and beneficial, the system evolved into really what became a local longitudinal data system. In one instance, the data highlighted exceptional results in student performance in math at this one particular school. It turns out that it was one math instructor named Cy Swan who designed his own standards-aligned math curriculum. He called it Math 2D, which was making headway with students. Students really felt engaged. Now, based on these results, the school then expanded the same curriculum to other classes at that school. Eventually, based on the data that was coming from this school, the district then decided to expand this curriculum even further to other schools within the district and began to assist Mr. Swan in the production of materials for this challenging, engaging curriculum. As the district began a pilot program for the curriculum in more of its schools, it designated Mr. Swan to coach others into the teaching of this new successful curriculum. The pilot schools performed extraordinarily well. In fact, these schools experienced a one-year 24-point gain in their API scores due primarily to the 5th grade math proficiency. Long Beach had such great results, they expanded the math program to all of their schools in their district. Then other districts heard about this, and this program quickly spread to Fresno, to Compton, to Garden Grove, to Lenox, and to Oakland. Today, thousands and thousands of students are in the Math 2D program, making real gains in proficiency, all because of one teacher innovating in his classroom, a data system that was able to identify his success, and a culture of continuous improvement. This is exactly the kind of professional learning community that uses data to support instruction and that we hope will stimulate and foster through this race to the top. My friends, I'd like to salute that teacher. He's here with us today, Cy Swan, who came up from Southern California. Cy, will you please stand? Please stand. And you're in great company. You're sitting next to the community college chancellor. So if you have any kids that need to get into a community college, that's a good place to sit. Now, one of the most important ways that we at the state will provide better support for these communities really starts with refining our standards. Now, let me be very clear and very serious. I'm not one that takes the notion of adopting a set of Common Core standards lightly. I have trepidations like I know many of you do. And I have said repeatedly, both here and in California, as well as to my colleagues in 49 other states, that I will not accept standards that are one bit less rigorous than the current ones that we have in California. But I also am not one who argues that our current standards were delivered from on high and should never again be touched. Standards, at their very best, are documents that evolve through refinement to become better tools to get us to our end goal of educating students so that they are better prepared for success in this hyper-competitive global economy. I am so confident about the quality of our current standards that I really have no doubt that we can revise them in beneficial ways without sacrificing one iota of what makes them world-class. Now, to begin, we have to acknowledge that we have work to do in terms of streamlining and sequencing our standards. The reality is that not all information is equal, and that in each of our grades, there really are fundamental standards of knowledge that are most critical for students to fully be able to understand and comprehend. Our current standards don't do a good enough job of distinguishing between these core standards and the rest. And as a result, teachers are far too often required to pace their instruction in a way that really gives them no meaningful opportunity to circle back when the learning and understanding really has yet to occur. This problem is also a major contributor to our achievement gap in our school system. And we can't stop with standards. We are part of a consortium of states working to develop a new set of assessments aligned to the Common Core standards. Assessments that are both valid and reliable across the state, but use multiple measures to evaluate success. Now, I know that this is a tall task, but my friends, man landed on the moon 40 years ago. So surely we have the capability to figure out how to assess knowledge in a valid and reliable way beyond simply asking our students to fill in a bubble test. This work will certainly be coupled with the development of a new student-level growth model, so we can also hold ourselves accountable based on the progress of individual students as opposed to meeting these arbitrary static bars. We won't sacrifice our high expectations for every child, but we also won't continue to hold out unreachable goals that really do set us up for failure. This new system will allow us to more accurately measure our progress compared to the progress of the rest of the nation, and will facilitate the identification and sharing of successful best practices across the country. Now, let me take a moment to point out what I know all of you already know, and that is, at the end of the day, it really is the teacher in that classroom. The teacher is going to determine our success. That's why we must keep our entire focus on providing the support necessary to help improve both teaching and learning. This starts with better identifying our most effective teachers and leaders so that we can learn from their expertise. To do so, we must reorient our evaluation systems for teachers and principals to emphasize effectiveness, and we must use student achievement as data as a key measurement. Not the only measure, but a key measure. As I continue to travel up and down the state and talk to teachers, principals, and other administrators, I constantly hear the dissatisfaction with our current evaluation system. I don't think that any of us can really stand here today and say we know exactly what the right evaluation system should look like. But it is evident that the current evaluation system provides too little value, and it really is time for a change. I love the example that the American Federation of Teachers president Randi Weingarten used recently in her speech before the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., comparing effective evaluation to the use of game tape in football. She said, and Willie, you're going to like this, the next offensive coordinator of San Francisco 49ers right here. She said, coaches and players view game tape throughout the season and in preparation for every game in order to deconstruct and to be able to understand what is working and what isn't so that necessary changes can in fact be made. The goal is constant improvement and, of course, winning. Well, in our terms, winning means students who are mastering our high standards and our students better prepared for success. Success in college, success in the workforce. With the resources and focus that come with the race to the top, the state will facilitate a collaborative process with teacher unions, with management organizations, and local educational agencies to design model teacher and principal evaluations. And I really do feel very confident that we can develop a method for fairly evaluating our teachers and principals that the entire educational community will be able to support. Then schools and school districts can appropriately use the results for all sorts of decisions. Decisions such as promotion, professional development, compensation, and tenure. It will also help ensure the equitable distribution of effective teachers and school leaders in those hard-to-staff schools, those tough subject areas, and specialty areas. To successfully implement Race to the Top, we're going to need to reach all of the goals that I've just mentioned, preparing all students for success in both college and their careers. We need to use our own creativity, leveraged by the Race to the Top award, to build a new way of running California's educational enterprise. The new system must be less hierarchical and much more collaborative, student-centered rather than adult-centric, and data-driven with mutual accountability at all levels across the educational spectrum. California and the nation are truly in a race against time to prepare our students for success in the global economy of the 21st century. So let me conclude today by again acknowledging and recognizing that we know these are hard, difficult, challenging times. I've been around, as you heard Speaker Brown say, around Sacramento for a long time, and none of the old war stories that I could tell compare to the challenges that we collectively face today. Yet, I also stand here today filled with tremendous optimism for the future. We certainly have a lot of work to do to close the achievement gap and to continue to raise achievement for all of our students. Huge challenges that are made harder by the lack of adequate resources. Yet, I am constantly inspired by the passion that I see in nearly every teacher's face, by the determination in the eyes of most of our principals who help children who come from unimaginably difficult circumstances to soar to great heights, and by the unflagging commitment of parents who know their children are destined to reach an even brighter future. People who choose to make education their life's work really are our heroes. They need better tools. They need more support. And yes, more funding. But the vast majority of those in our system do incredible work in transforming the lives of students. We now have an opportunity, indeed an obligation, to step up and to help them. We simply cannot afford to wait any longer. We cannot let our challenges become obstacles to student success. We will find no better time than right now. Thank you very much for coming today. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.